Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Joni and this is the Knitting Attorney Podcast episode 15. This is where I talk about my knitting and sometimes crochet and other crafts, but mostly knitting. So let's get into it. So today I have a finished object for you guys, which I am wearing. This is my Towns sweater by Ozetta, and I can try to stand up so you can see the bottom of it. I'll try to insert another clip. I'm experimenting with the settings on my camera to see if I can do some more editing stuff, so I won't know until I have attempted to do that, which is after right now, which is when I'm filming, so hopefully. But yes, so I finished this sweater this week. I only had one sleeve left to do and it only took a couple of days to do. So it's knit out of CC's Wool Peruvian Alpaca Tweed. I used about a skein and a half of it. I have this much left. It's this really beautiful, soft alpaca. Yeah, it was such an easy pattern to do. It just kind of like flew off my needles, and it is super comfy. It came out a little less oversized than I was expecting, and I think that's maybe just like a problem with the fact that I didn't do a gauge swatch, but also like I don't really mind because I wasn't going for a very fitted thing, so it didn't really matter if it was a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger. But anyway, yes, so it came out just kind of comfortably loose, and the sleeves are not quite these super long sleeves I talked about in my last episode, but they are long and kind of go onto my hands. Has this like lovely thick ribbed cuff, double folded neckline. This thing is all washed and blocked and ends woven in and everything. Yes, I am really happy with this. Last week I had finished up that Moonlit Shawl by Darling J'adore and talked about having a lot of complications and frustrations with it, and so doing this one and finishing it where I just didn't run into any problems, the pattern was really well written, everything worked out without much thought or care, and yeah, it was a really good sort of palette cleansing moment and kind of gave me a little bit of my soothing knitting coming back to me. So yes, I'm really happy with this, and I haven't worn it a lot because I haven't been dressing in anything very nice in the last few days, but I'm wearing it today and it's very warm. So yeah, that is my FO of the week, and let's move on to the whips. So my other sort of big project I was doing was my balloon cardigan by Petite Knit, and I said I wanted to finish the body and I didn't, not quite. Unfortunately, that was a little bit more ambitious than I could handle. I had a little bit of stuff to do for work, but I have gotten to the third buttonhole and I'm at the bottom ribbing, so I just have a few rows of that to do, then I do the last fourth and final buttonhole, but I made good progress even if I didn't finish the body. And because I was really excited, I sewed on the first two buttons. These I got at Rhinebeck from Dusty's Vintage Buttons, which unfortunately doesn't have any sort of online shop. You just kind of have to find them at Rhinebeck or wherever they're vending, but there's just these beautiful vintage glass buttons, and I am so excited about how they're looking with this like rainbowy pastel thing. So last time I talked about alternating skeins going into the body from finishing the yoke, and I think that ended up working well. I started with the first skein of this, and it's Hedgehog Fibers Skinny Singles in the shade Poppy, held together with Ginger's hand-dyed Leading Lady Lace. Yeah, and so I started alternating skeins right at the very end of the yoke and did it for like an inch or so. And I think that worked out well. I'm not seeing any sort of stark contrast, even though the skeins definitely are slightly different from one another. But I am glad that I reserved some of that first skein to help fade the next one into the sleeves, because there definitely is somewhat of a difference between them. I haven't done the same thing with alternating skeins with the mohair, just because it's just such a less dominant color that I don't think the slight differences between the different skeins of mohair are really going to show up. But I mean, I might end up being wrong and kicking myself for it, but so far I'm not seeing any issues. I just switched to a new skein of mohair a few rows ago. So yeah, it's coming out really, really lovely. It's a little bit longer than my first balloon cardigan. That one I kind of shortened the space between the buttons, and this one I wanted to do exactly to the pattern. Yeah, I think it's coming out pretty, and I definitely think I can finish the body this week, finally, and maybe get started on one of these sleeves. So yeah, I am really excited to see how this turns out. I'm definitely, will keep you updated. So that was that. My next project I want to talk about is my Harvest Tee, and this one has been very slow because it is a fingering weight t-shirt knit on size 3 needles, however many millimeters that is, 3.25 I think. Yeah, small needles, small yarn, so it's been very slow. So last time I updated, I had already finished the back and had just kind of barely started the front, and now I am less than 10 rows to the neckline. I would have really loved to have had that done and done the 3 needle bind off to attach the front and back already, but I set aside yesterday to work on this like really intensely, and my fingers started hurting by the end, and I had to give up where I was. But I did make a lot of progress, and I definitely think next week I can have that body done, and finally this thing can actually look like a garment and not just some floppy kind of piece of fabric. Yeah, so as I always mention, this is Euro Yarns Belviso in the shade Miranda, and you can see my my balloon cardigan yarns decided to attach to my finger there. Yes, love when that happens. But yes, I've got to say, the one thing I'm really most excited about with this is not so much getting that done, but getting all these ends here woven in before I move on to the next step, because oh boy, it is so hard, because now I'm knitting back and forth, so I'm constantly turning my work, and all of these are getting like tangled up in it, and sometimes it honestly takes me like 5 minutes just to get my yarn into place so I can start a row. I could weave them in right now, but it just is more difficult with everything on the needles. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else gets like that, but yeah, getting those like woven in and out of the way so it's just a neater piece will be such a relief, and that's what I'm really, really gunning for this week. So yeah, that was that. So since I'm continuing my sort of keeping 3 core projects and sort of moving whips in, and last week I had finished my moonlit shawl and brought in my balloon cardigan, and this week I finished my town sweater. And so I decided, since I brought in one previously existing whip, it's time to bring in a new one. And so I cast on something new. I did. So this is the Summer Slipover by Sophie Hutchinson. I literally looked up how to pronounce her name and I forgot. Yeah, I will get that later. I'll put it in the description box, I promise. Yeah, one of those days. So anyway, so this is a slipover that is completely open on the sides. So I've almost finished the back of it already, but it is knit in this really lovely broken rib pattern, and you have decreases here, and it'll be attached right at the shoulders, but then the side is completely loose and open, and there's just I-cord ties on each corner here, and you just tie it up. So it's like a kind of very loose, open summer top. And this is knit out of, let me grab the other skein. Wow, I'm super prepared this week. This is knit with this yarn that I got while I was in Scotland. It is a yarn from North Ronaldsay, and it is made out of wool from special seaweed eating sheep. It's natural, undyed, and DK weight, and it is really lovely. Wish you guys could like feel it, because it's got this like really nice like crisp, stiff but like light texture that is, it really made me think summery, plus like the natural like pale color of the wool. I really wanted to make like a summery kind of top, and so this came of it. So yeah, as you can see, the fabric is, it has a stiffness to it, but it's very, very lightweight, and there's definitely quite a bit of lanolin, I think, in this yarn, because I can definitely feel a bit of it like coating my fingers, so I'm not sure how that's going to change the texture once I've washed it, but we shall see. Part of the fun of knitting is being surprised by the results. Maybe that's why I don't gauge swatch as much, because there's something about the mystery of the process that I actually really enjoy. So yeah, I feel like before anyone says like, oh, but like wool summer top, like isn't that gonna be sweaty? Wool is very breathable, okay? It's actually not a bad fiber for summer, as long as it's like lightweight enough, and with the light color and the fact that this knit is fairly open, it's not very, very tight gauge, I think it should be fine. Maybe not for those 100-degree July days, but for, you know, your 82-degree days in June and August, I think it'll be comfortable enough. Plus it's open in the armpit area where I feel like most of the sweat happens. So yes, I think it'll serve me well for summer. So that one I think I can probably get finished actually fairly quickly. It's not, I mean, I obviously have almost finished the back, and it's not a very time consuming knit, so hopefully I'll have an FO for you guys next week. Yeah, if not, these are my projects. So yeah, that was the knitting of this week, and I haven't done a whole lot of other crafting, but I did stop by Cece's Wool for a project, which is not even yarn related, but I picked up this cute little jar of Jacquard Acid Dye in the shade Jet Black, and there's a reason for this, because I'm being so weird right now. I'm so sorry. So anyway, I had this really pretty silk dress from Betsy Johnson, and if I can figure out how to edit this video, I will put a picture of it if I can find one on the internet somewhere over here. If not, ignore that. Anyway, it was this very pretty pale pink silk dress, and I got it like many years ago when I was in college and wore it a few times. And at the time, speaking again of armpit sweat, whatever deodorant I was using didn't agree well with my body chemistry, and so it got horrific staining just on the underarms. And I tried to remove it and absolutely could not get it out. It was just like awful and like almost like bright orange stains. And I realized, like, you know, this dress is beautiful. It's silk, it's lovely, it was expensive, and so I was like, hey, why don't I dye it black? And so here is my now black dress. As you may be able to see, the dress, the care label says 100% silk, but it doesn't give any information about what the lace is or any of this thread that was used on it. So that did not take the dye, but the silk of the dress and even the silk of the lining, if I can get that out, just took it perfectly. So the way I did it was I pre-soaked the dress for about 20 minutes. It's very thin, it didn't take long to get saturated, and then I added the dye, which I tried to measure out. I weighed the dress and figured about 1 gram of dye, but then realized that my food scale is really not sensitive enough for measuring out like a single gram, but I digress. Anyway, so I put that in a pot, which I purchased a new pot because you don't want to use your food pots for it. I went to Goodwill and got a used large pot and mixed the dye and the water in there and put the dress in it before I turned on the heat. And I pretty much turned on the heat to like low medium, constantly stirred it, let it heat up really gradually, and just kind of added vinegar periodically as it got to hot. And once it got to kind of like steaming and about to boil, I turned the heat down and left it like staying warm for about 30 minutes, and then turned off the heat, let it cool almost completely, and squeezed it out and rinsed it, and this is my result. Absolutely like perfect black on the silk part of the dress. Like, I'm shocked how flawless that came out. The lace turned out gray. Still don't know what material this is, but it's at least even. I'm happy about that. I've been kind of going back and forth with myself on whether I want to try like a different type of dye and see if I can get like the lace and the thread to actually take it, but I'm also kind of liking the aesthetic of this. So let me know down below what you think about trying to get this fully black or perhaps leaving it as is. I might try wearing it a few times once the weather warms up and see how I like it, how it kind of goes with my wardrobe, and then make my decision. My only concern is that where that underarm staining was, for whatever reason, the lace did take the dye there, but nowhere else. So there is kind of still that unevenness. But either way, you know, the dress wasn't really salvageable as is. The staining just, there was no way it was coming out, so even if you think like this looks horrible, it's, you know, I wasn't gonna be able to wear it when it was pink anyway, so this is certainly an improvement. So yes, I experimented with acid dye, and maybe the bug has hit me and bug has bit me, and I want to continue experimenting with that. Maybe I will dye some yarn at some point, I don't know. Yeah, perhaps. So full disclosure, while I was at Cece's Wool, and this is the last thing before I say goodbye for the rest of the episode, I saw a very lovely skein of yarn and realized I had a loyalty card that was like filled out, which went $10 off my purchase, and this yarn was in the $10 bin, so I got this for free, basically. This is TCs Wool All Natural series. It's organic BFL dyed with Queen Anne's lace, and just a nice skein of worsted weight, very soft wool, in this pretty yellow color, which has made me think of spring, summer, and I think that's kind of been the theme of everything I've been showing today. My summer tops, t-shirts, pastels, pretty yellows, summer dresses. I am really ready for winter to be over. Yeah, so that was all my knitting crafting stuff and life updates. I did actually go and sign up for a review course for the SQE. So my quest to qualify as a solicitor in England and Wales is continuing. That starts in April, which is going to be interesting because in April, for the first half of April, I'm going to actually be in the UK, and I'll be in Spain for the end of March, travel. And yeah, I think I also might do some videos sort of related to that, packing, because my plan is to just pack in a backpack and make it a lot easier on myself with the travel. So if you'd be interested in seeing that, and if you're still watching right now, then let me know down below. I'm also considering potentially doing some videos just about cleaning out my wardrobe and trying to put together a very thoughtful wardrobe for the fact that I may be moving countries in a couple of years, and I'm hoping to kind of, you know, not take a bunch of stuff that I never wear or be bogged down with all this stuff. So I'm planning on doing some sort of decluttering, selling things maybe on Depop, trying to find places to recycle old clothes, because my one thing is that I really don't want to just put things in a landfill. Like, I've got so many clothes from like that I've collected over like the past 15 years that I just won't throw out because I don't want to just put them in the trash. So figuring out sort of where to send them, what to do with them, that could be a series, maybe a little no landfill challenge, closet clean out. So yeah, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that. I know it's a little off from the knitting content, but I think for me at least that all kind of ties in together, because knitting has been for me a lot about sort of slowing down and creating more thoughtful, high quality pieces for myself. And so sort of moving away from the fast fashion and overconsumption and just accumulation of stuff, it's all kind of part of the same journey. And so if you guys would like to see that, let me know. Or if you feel strongly against seeing that, let me know, because I do actually want to do it. So even if you don't say you want to see it, I'll probably still do it. But if you guys all say, no, we don't want to be subjected to that, then I might reconsider. So anyway, that was my episode, and I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Sunday. Bye bye.